The Miami Dolphins were unexpectedly quick to get rid of Tyreek Hill and Bradley Chubb, two of their more well-known players on their roster. If we look at this team, man, it's kind of barren. The Dolphins decided, apparently, right from the jump that they are going to scrap this roster and they're going to start to build up from scratch. Feels like Tua's probably next. If they were this quick to move on from those players, they're probably trying to navigate what is the best possible situation for Tua. Can they find a trade partner? I highly doubt it. Ryan, I want to ask you this from the draft perspective. What do you see as the vision for the Dolphins? What do you see as the path for success? Is this a year where they punt on 2026 and they try to take advantage of some early picks and build up some depth, find a starter with their first-round pick, and look towards 2027 where they're going to have a lot more options, hopefully, at quarterback?
Yeah, I don't think that you can bank on solving your quarterback spot in the 2026 NFL draft. And I don't even think free agency really, Joe. I mean, I guess it's possible that with the Jeff Hafley, who's the new head coach for the Dolphins, with his connection to Malik Willis, maybe that's a route they potentially go at quarterback. But I really do think that I think there should be an attention to being patient with the Dolphins right now, because this is not a team that is a quarterback away or a couple players away from being a really good football team. They had a fire sale, which tells me that they understand the foundation right now stinks. Like, we have to break down this foundation and we need to build up slowly. So what I think is going to happen is that they are going to try to get as much as they can out of the 2026 rookie class, and they're going to slow build to find their quarterback at the right spot. So I don't think that this is going to be a quick turnaround. I don't think this is a rebuild. I think this is a fractured foundation from the previous previous staff under Mike McDaniel, and I anticipate that this is going to be a team that says, we are going to build this thing up back very slowly. We're going to let a lot of rookies get baptism by fire in 2026, and we're going to be patient with finding a quarterback, because I just don't think, like, all the moves that we've seen so far with James Daniels and Tyreek Hill and Tua on the horizon, all these types of things, this points to me, Joe, that you said what we had as the foundational pieces aren't good enough to be a team that can make a big jump in 2026 or 2027. So let's completely tear it down. So I think they're tearing down the foundation, and I hope that some patience follows that foundational rebirth.
Yeah, I give early credit to the understanding of where they sit. A lot of times I think, especially with a new general manager and a new head coach that haven't had those roles before, there's just the thought of, man, we can turn this team into a winner right away. I think having that understanding that, hey, we have to rip this thing apart down to the studs and see what we can get out of this team this upcoming year and then look to the future.
Right.
It's not tanking. And I don't imagine that they're
it's okay.
It is, but it isn't.
It's tanking. Yeah.
They claim that they don't tank in the NFL, but this team's probably going to be very bad this upcoming year. I doubt that they're going to be a team that's going to jump into the mix and start spending a lot of money. There is, and the thing that's been compared a lot with this circumstance with Tua specifically, is the Denver Broncos, where they got rid of Tua. They got rid of Russell Wilson. They immediately jumped into that first season under Sean Payton. Everybody said that Sean Payton was a doofus and that he was in over his head and, he shouldn't have got back into coaching. They understood that they needed to suck. They stunk. They drafted Bo Nix, and then they immediately hit the ground running and were as competitive as they possibly could have been. There are a lot of pieces to work with on this team. They still have Minkah Fitzpatrick. They still have Chop Robinson. They still have Kenneth Grant, who they drafted this past year. Jordan Phillips is a solid player that they drafted in this past class as well. I believe he was the past class. Yeah, he was. He was in 2025. Their offensive line's not great, but they did take Jonas Avenea, who has potential. They didn't get what they were hoping to get out of Patrick Paul or Austin Jackson. So do they decide to look to different situations here with their offensive line? And, of course, Jalen Waddle and Devon Achane are the two big-time playmakers that they have on offense. Interestingly enough, Ryan, I think what helps them this year to establish the path of rounding out their team with a class that has some solid day two depth is the fact that they've got three third-round picks. So they've got a first, they've got a second, and then they've got 3 third-round picks from the Texans and from the Eagles. So there's a really good opportunity here that you're probably not going to hit like ridiculous home runs and be a team that gets starters out of all three of these players. But if you get contributions from those guys, I think from those selections, that ends up setting your team on the path to success.
So I think when you really like dissect the hirings this past offseason with them, and I already mentioned obviously Jeff Hafley as head coach, but John Eric Sullivan obviously comes from that Green Bay Packer background as well, Joe, where like you look at them and you say, what have the Packers been doing the last, what feels like forever? They've always been a draft well, retain talent team. They haven't been like a big, like we're going to mash things up with free agency. So I really do think there's going to be an attention to detail from a draft perspective. And we're going to see kind of, again, that's why I think it's going to be a little bit more of a slow build, like a slow rebuild comparative to some teams that are just like, let's flip this roster quickly. That's why, because like the Green Bay Packers, like when you think about them right now, everybody they have that is a substantial player for them is homegrown, right? It's like Jordan Love was a draft pick that had to sit behind Aaron Rodgers for a couple years. All your wide receivers are homegrown. All your offensive linemen, Elkton Jenkins, all those guys are homegrown. Defensively, the majority of them are homegrown. So I do think there's an attention to detail outside of Micah Parsons, obviously, in the trade this past offseason to be a homegrown team that builds and retains top talent. So again, I think 2026 NFL Draft is going to be a great kicking off point for this team. But I really don't think that we're going to be talking about the Dolphins for the next couple years in terms of when are they super relevant, which is also why I don't think, again, that they're going to make a splashy quarterback move this offseason. For me, Malik Willis sounds good in theory with their relationship to that staff, with his relationship to that staff. But is Malik Willis going to walk into the Dolphins organization next year and turn this team around into a playoff team? No. And then also,
they're not the team that's a fit for Malik Willis, because if you're
Agreed.
Malik Willis makes more sense on a Steelers type team that desperately needs quarterback competitiveness. Maybe a team like the Browns because of having a good athlete in Monken's offense, and their defense is really good. There's a potential that their defense ends up being really, really good this upcoming year with some of those youngsters taking an even bigger step. The Dolphins shouldn't do that. Investing in Willis before you have even a system for him to succeed in would be misguided, completely misguided.
And also, he's still a younger, inexperienced player. I know he started a few games the last couple years for Green Bay, but like he's still a kid, a younger quarterback that needs a little bit more of foundation around him and structure around him and support around him. Are you going to drop him into Miami and just go sink or swim, Malik, even though you're making $30+ million a year? I think that's a bad strategy in my opinion, because I don't think that Malik Willis is necessarily a guy that is going to elevate everyone around him, bring him into a good structure and continue building what he's been building over the last couple years for Green Bay. But I really do think that that is just the wrong fit for him. So I know Dolphins fans, I've already seen it online of like Dolphin fans clamoring for Malik Willis with his relationship with the new staff that is now in Miami that came from Green Bay. But when you look at it, I just really think that he is the wrong fit at the wrong time for this team. I think this team needs to be super patient with quarterback, which I know sucks in the NFL fandom world, but I really do think it could pay off long term because you have some interesting builders now a part of your program, but I really think that patience is needed on this next step.
We'll see what the Miami Dolphins do. We're going to be back on Wednesday. Hit that like button and subscribe, folks. We'll talk to you later.